Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Songwriting Simplified on this glorious 29th of November 2023. Yes, I did remember to start the stream today. I know, I kind of forgot last week, which was on Sunday. I don't know, it's just a step I overlooked. I have never ever done that before, but yes, I overlooked it. And I have no explanation other than for 6 minutes I was sat here talking to you lovely people, except I wasn't. But there it is. Sorry about that. Anyway, I hope everybody is doing well. And yes, we still have the Christmas background on. This will stay up until we get to around about January 5th, January 6th, which is traditionally when Christmas decorations come down for the most part, and Silent Night will be replaced once we get past Boxing Day. Silent Night will go away and we'll go back to the original theme tunes. But stand by though, 2024 might feature some new theme tunes for both Sunday Night Live and Songwriting Simplified. I'm kind of working on some new bits and pieces that hopefully will improve both of these shows going forward into 2024. So I'm looking forward to 2024. I hope you guys are too. And just to give you the heads up of how December is going to proceed, especially when it comes to this show, to Songwriting Simplified. The focus for the next couple of weeks is going to be on the Christmas Songwriting Challenge, which is very, very cool. And I'm working with Rich Cresswell on developing this. He has created a workspace inside of Studio One Plus, and you don't have to be a member to join. All you need is a my.presoners.com account, which you can create for free. So if you don't use Studio One, you can create that for free. If you're a Studio One user, then you already have that account. But like I said, you don't need to be a member of Studio One Plus to get involved in this. But the workspace, the beauty of the workspace is that it's nice and tidy and it's easy to upload to. And it's easy to work in, and all the people that are inside the workspace are going to be able to interact with each other and give feedback on each other's tunes. I'm going to be avoiding everybody's tunes and everybody's work until we get to the closing date, which is December 17th. Once we get to that closing date, then Rich and I will be listening avidly to all of the pieces which you need to submit to that workspace. Okay? It's dead easy to do. And Rich has got all the details for that, which he is just posting now. So if you connect with Rich via the link that he's given you, once you've created your my.presons.com account, you should be able to do this. And then he will add you to the workspace, and then you'll be able to be a part of it, and it will be very, very cool. And so you will need to submit either an MP3 mixdown or a WAV mixdown of your completed song, and then we will basically bung those all into one folder, and we will listen to those from that workspace. And then when it comes to the grand finale Christmas special show, which will be on the 20th of December, Rich and I will play some of the songs, some of our favorite ones, and we will also announce the winner of the contest. And then that will be that. That will be the end of the Christmas Songwriting Challenge. And there will be other challenges that we will do throughout 2024. Some of them will have prizes, some of them won't. But they will all be different challenges that will help you develop different songwriting skills, different composing skills. So it should be a lot of fun going forward. I've got some great ideas. I'm hoping in 2024 that I can continue to work with Rich, and I may be working with some carefully hand-selected people, carefully chosen people that I might also work with. And of course, Alps Media is going to be at the, kind of very strongly in the background with all of this, being that that's my good friend Louis, is the sponsor of both of these two shows. So a big thank you to him for sponsoring these two shows and for being an awesome partner. It's fantastic working with Louis. So there's a lot to come for the rest of 2023 and also for 2024. There's loads of stuff coming, including some new videos as well that I've got coming. One of the things I posted on those of you that are in the Mental Floss Messenger chat group, I posted about a reverb plugin, a brand new Spring reverb plugin made by Klanghelm, which is basically it's a one-man show based out of Berlin, Germany. A guy called Tony Frenzel, and he makes some extremely good plugins, and it's called Tens, and it's really good. I've had a wee play with it today. There is a free version of that plugin called Tens Junior, which is much like the MJUC Junior, which is also it's like a free compressor. Tens Junior is a Spring reverb, and it is also available for free, and you can just download it. It took me about maybe 30 or 40 seconds to download, and then it's, I did a rescan of my plugin list, and there it is. It's right there, and in the effects tab, and it sounds really great. So I will have a wee demo video of that coming up probably tomorrow. You'll see that. I don't do product reviews very often. In fact, I very rarely do them, but this will be the second Klanghelm plugin review that I have done. So that's going to be very cool. So that takes care of kind of Songwriting Simplified. Sunday Night Live, there's a bunch of very cool ideas that I've got coming for that as well. We're going to have some guests in 2024 that we will be discussing various aspects of music production, so mixing, mastering, recording, production in broad terms as well. So I'm going to be talking to some very cool people, and you will have the benefit of learning from their wisdom, as shall I as well. So I will have some guests lined up for that, and again, there will be some guests lined up also for Songwriting Simplified shows throughout 2024. Not every week, but certain weeks when I can get guests, I will get guests. Because guests are always a good thing, because it means you don't have to listen to me all the time. And I'm pretty sure that you don't want to listen to me all the time. So that's kind of what's coming up. So let's go see who is here. Billy Morgan has retained his #1 spot, once again being early in the doors, followed by Christina over in Denmark, who I rather suspect has probably gone to bed because it'll be 1:15 in the morning for her. And Paul Morgan is here, John Hawke is here, Sean Aaron is here, Chris Manrachner is here, and Boris Dancy is also here, who had a question which is a little bit more for a Sunday Night Live show. So I will try and capture that question. Boris, please email me that question, actually. That would be a good thing. So if you go to my website, which actually is not at the bottom of the screen like it normally would be, but if you go to JonnyLipshamStudios.co.uk, that's JonnyLipshamStudios.co.uk, and the contact form is at the bottom of the page. Fill out that and post your question in that contact form. And then I will start Sunday's show off with that. Okay? With that question. Because it's a good one. It's a good one. And then we've got Stephen Wilson here as well. We've got Rich Cresswell, who I was just mentioning, is here. Tony Stringer is here as well. He says, summer feelings from Cyprus. Cyprus, my God. I would love to be in Cyprus. He says, I'll be with you tonight. Awesome, Tony. Very glad to have you, mate. Carl Traduziak is here as well. The W5 family are all here, I rather suspect. And Don Oliver is here. Garner99 is here. Ron Figura, of course, is here. Let's see, Bobby Booth is here as well. Spin18 is here. Who else is here? Just Bob is here, which is fantastic. Ron Figura says, I'm not seeing a holiday background. Really? It's all this kind of red stuff that's above me, to the sides and underneath. You know, look up there. So look, if you look up there, there's some bells, and then down the way there's a Christmas tree, and then over the other side it says Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. That's what I was referring to. Okay, you were thinking you're on Zoom. You thought literally right behind me, like it is on Zoom. Yeah. I can't actually do that unless I have a green screen for OBS, which I don't have. Carl says, for some reason I was not invited to the workspace. Bloody hell. Yeah, we must get that squared away. Absolutely. John Hathwaite is here as well. And I think that's it. I think I've got everybody. I don't think I've missed anybody. I don't think. All right, so we are talking songwriting. Now, I did mention that Klanghelm reverb earlier, which I thoroughly recommend everybody go and grab because it's free for a start. And if you hate it, you can always uninstall it and you have not lost anything. That said, Klanghelm, I am not at all sponsored by Tony. I don't even know him personally. I have emailed him a couple of times and he has been very friendly emailing me back, which is very kind of him. But I otherwise don't know him personally, so I have no actual connection with him. But one thing I will say, his plugins are freaking awesome and they are extremely reasonably priced. They are kind of between 18 and 24 euros because he's in Germany. So that's round about 20 bucks, 25 bucks. US, and around about 23, 24, 25 pounds, depending upon the exchange rate between the euro and the pound. But it's, you know, the pound and the euro tend to be reasonably close to each other at the moment. So, yeah, around somewhere between 20 and 25 pounds. So they are extremely well priced and they are extremely versatile plugins. I did a pretty much half an hour demo of the MJUC a few years ago now. Basically, I just started playing with it and I totally lost track of time whilst I was making the video. Didn't realize I've been running for 35 minutes. But still, it's freaking awesome. And it's very versatile. It's pretty much three compressor plugins in one. So you're getting 3 for the price of 1 with that plugin. So I recommend you get that. And Bobby Booth says he has all of those. Yes, they are freaking amazing. And to think it's just a one-man operation. And basically he says in his about us kind of statement on the website, he says, hey, I only make plugins that I like and I think that there is a need for, or that I need. He makes plugins, he says, if I need a particular reverb, I'll build it. If I need a particular compressor, I'll build it. And I will put it up on the website and you can buy it. And it's a great idea because, you know, it's not like he's looking to fill a particular market niche or anything like that, or try and undercut a particular branding or plugin concept. He's not doing any of that. He's just building plugins that he likes to build. Which, as it turns out, means that he makes really, really good plugins that nobody else is making. So there you go. My ad for, my unsponsored ad, I should say, for Klanghelm is over. There we go. All right, we got any songwriting questions? Seeing as we are talking about Christmas and the Christmas songwriting challenge, the intro music I am going to talk about a little bit whilst I'm waiting for some questions to drop in. I wrote this years ago. I think I did this, I wrote this arrangement, I should say. I wrote this arrangement maybe back in 1991 or 1992. But it wasn't really until I got into using Studio One back in 2013 that I thought, hey, it's about time I actually just recorded this. So I made this mock-up, and the reason I made this mock-up was I had new musicians in my band at that time, and I needed them to hear the arrangement because it was easier for them to hear the arrangement than it was for me to kind of spend a lot of time writing out the charts and all of that. So I didn't write out any charts. So it's a complete reharmonization. I've kept the melody for the most part, and I've made the rhythm a little bit more syncopated. But other than that, the melody is pretty much exactly the same. Until you get to the second time through the main melody, when the trumpet and the tenor saxophone split into harmony. And they are harmonized for the most part in either fourths or fifths or sixths, because that's nice open harmony. I like open harmony. If I have just, it's basically a quintet, basically. It's piano, bass, drums with trumpet and tenor saxophone. Classic small band quintet for a small, smoky little jazz club. So that was the idea behind the arrangement. And I wanted to basically keep the melody, but completely rework the chord changes. Without kind of going completely weird. So that was kind of my intent, was to make the chords sound a bit more interesting than how they do. You know, this is Silent Night, for goodness sake, where it's just like chord 1, chord 4, chord 5, pretty much all the way through. So it's maybe not the most harmonically interesting of Christmas songs at all, really, So there's that descending chromatic passage for a start, We're on chord 4, and then we go down chromatically, D7, so we're on E flat 13, and I can't remember where it goes next. But so there's a lot of chromatic harmony that replaces the original harmony. We call that, I think I've talked about tritonal substitutions before. So that's all that whole section is. And then we go. And so there's lots of chromatic harmony in there using tritonal substitution, but keeping the same melody. I'm keeping the same melody, but just kind of putting in some different, more interesting chord changes. So if you're looking for an approach to the songwriting challenge for the Christmas challenge, the two songs that Rich has provided, you can keep the melodies, like I've done here for Silent Night. You can pretty much keep the melody, maybe kind of adjust some of the rhythms here and there to make it a little bit more interesting, but you can certainly just keep the melody and then put some new chord changes to it, which is what I've done. And so that kind of is like a reharmonization technique. And so the secret is basically, if you're going to have the melody at the top, like I did here, now any chord can harmonize any note, and that's kind of what I based this idea around. You know, we've got, which is all taken from the B flat major scale. So, you know, there's lots of different things I could have done here. You know, I could have done, and then I could have gone, let's see, I could have gone. Now that certainly changes things up a bit, making that G flat major 7 instead. Or and into a D flat 7 instead. So it's a case of finding a chord that fits the note. So let's see. There's our melody note. I could go. Which is pretty much the standard harmony. That's all kind of the standard harmony. So what can you do here? So we've got, so I'm pretty much sticking to that. And then we go to E7, which is kind of a substitute chord leading into that E flat chord again. And then, what have we got here? We could either darken it maybe, or maybe not. Maybe we could make that into an A flat major and have basically that as a third of the chord. So yeah, we could do that. But then we'd have to have that as a flat 9. Right. See, that goes down to the G minor automatically, right? But what if we made that instead, make that into a 9th chord? So, and then and so on and so forth. So you get the idea. So the idea is to find chords that fit that melody. So hopefully you guys get the idea there of what I was trying to show you. So taking a melody and putting some new chords underneath it to give the melody just a completely different sound to it. So, you know, chords can either darken a melody or brighten a melody. So, you know, there was that point there where I decided I could go to G flat. You know, instead of going to, you know, So, and then I could, instead of doing the D flat, make it that G flat major instead. And it's different. Which, that's what I do in the theme tune. So what we've got there is we've got E flat, going to D, going to D flat, going to B7 with the flat 5. So the melody is the flat 5 of the chord. Just because it makes more interesting harmony than what you would normally do. So, yeah, I hope that kind of gives you some ideas of what you might want to do. You might want to try some other chords. You might want to try less jazz-orientated harmony, but certainly you could reharmonize something like Silent Night. You could certainly reharmonize God Rest You Merry Gentlemen, which is an interesting one because it's kind of minor, but also kind of major as well. And it has a very it's a very old melody. If memory serves, the melody to God Rest You Merry Gentlemen dates back to the Elizabethan period, which is interesting, which is why it kind of does lend itself to sounding that little bit kind of medieval for that reason. All right, let's go see. How about some ideas for approaching the Crimbo challenge? I think I'm kind of talking about that. So there are some other things you can do. You could make some stylistic changes. For example, you know, the God Rest You Merry Gentlemen that Rich has provided is actually pretty straightforward. What can we do with that? Well, you could slow the whole thing down in tempo, and you could go for a lo-fi hip-hop kind of vibe to it. Or you could slow it down and turn it into an R&B ballad and get really kind of smooth and sexy with it. Maybe not with the same words. Maybe you might want to change the words if you're going to go down that route. Or you could give it a bit of a backbeat and make it a little bit funky. Maybe go for something kind of a little bit more swing beat style. Something like that might be quite cool for a little drum groove. And you can change up the instrumentation. Maybe, you know, some nice funky strumming on a Telecaster guitar, some nice slapped bass, whatever you want to do. So you could do that, or you could go big band style. If you really want to go big band style, that would be great. I might even give you bonus points if you decide to go big band style, because that would be pretty cool. So yeah, there's lots of different things you can do to dress up a Christmas song in a completely different way, much like I've done with Silent Night. I do have a bunch of other ones that I did arrangements for my band. We did like Jingle Bells, and we did Oh Holy Night, we did. And the way we did Oh Holy Night was we turned it into like a 1950s blues ballad. And I just went for as lush sounding harmony as I could possibly get. Nice close voice saxophones, trombones, trumpets providing some shimmer. And we had a flugelhorn as the featured solo instrument. And then we also had a featured tenor saxophone for part of it as well. So these two guys took the main melody. But then, you know, we'd have a trombone take some of the melody as well. So it made it really quite an interesting chart. But yeah, there's lots of different things you can do with any of those. You could rap if you really want to. If you really want to do a Christmas rap, go for it. a Christmas wrap would actually be very cool, actually. You can be as sophisticated or as not sophisticated as you want. You can turn it into, you could go for sludge, I think they call it sludge metal, if you really want. Or you can go and do a gent version. I personally would love to hear a gent version of one of the two songs. Or, I mean, you don't have to use either of those two songs. You could do a completely different one if you want. You could do a completely different carol if you want. It doesn't really matter to me. It's just that, those two songs we've just provided, Rich has just provided a whole bunch of materials just to make it easier for you. You'll also find when you join that workspace that there is now a sound effects folder provided to us all by, I believe it's Ron Figura, who's provided some sleigh bell sounds and some fire crackling sounds as well. If you want to do chestnuts roasting over an open fire, I forget what the name of that song is. Oh yeah, Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas. I think that's what it's called. Anyway, so you could do that. If you really must, Bobby, you could do bagpipes. If you really must. I will be listening to it with cotton wool in my ears, that's for sure. A whoopee cushion version, providing it is pitched whoopee cushions. Yes. Or one of those rubber chickens. Cool thing about the rubber chicken thing is I saw somebody do a version of Pachelbel's Canon with 5 rubber chickens. It's hilarious, but it's also really, really good. Now, I suspect that he has sampled that rubber chicken and made it pitch accurate, and he's using a MIDI keyboard to trigger it. But it still sounds really, really good, and it's very, very funny. So certainly you could do that. There's lots of different things you could do. Let's go see. Do we have any questions? Dotted notes for some swing. Yes, you could do some dotted notes for some swing if you want. Now, you'll notice in this version of Silent Night that I've done. Let's go over here. This does have some swing. Let's get rid of the mixer. Hang on. There we go. So we've got rid of the mixer now. Take away the melody. So I've basically turned it into a little bit of a kind of a jazz waltz kind of thing. I have heard versions of Silent Night in 4/4 as well. You just have to kind of stretch out or elongate the melody a wee bit to make it fit. You could do it in 5/4. You can actually legitimately do this in 7/8 as well. And it'll fit pretty good. You'll need to, again, do a little bit of stretching of the rhythmic values of the melody a little bit, and a little bit of shrinking them as well in places to make it fit. But it can be done in 7/8. So if you really want to experiment with different time signatures for this, you certainly can. 7/8 might not be a bad option for something like Silent Night. It could be quite entertaining, for sure. So dotted notes would definitely be an option. Let's see. John Hathwaite says that he's grabbed that reverb and he'll try it when he can finally get some proper sound out of his 32R. There you go. I hope you are enjoying your 32R, John, by the way. Once you've got it all routed and set up and everything. I'm sure you'll find it extremely useful. I'm pretty sure it will fit your needs as well. Let's see. I'm not seeing any questions. Other than Boris's question about preamps, which is really for a Sunday show. But he also says the scale mode discussion last week was great. I'm starting to experiment and implement those in a couple of new tunes I'm writing now. Yeah, modes are amazing. I love modes. I love working with modes. I try and do something with modes pretty much all the time. Triplets in 3/4. Yes, that's what I'm doing, Ron, in this. This is triplets in 3/4. It's a jazz waltz. It's not 9/8. It's 3/4. It's just a jazz waltz. It's not a bum ba ba bum ba ba bum ba ba da bum ba ba, which would be a regular waltz. It's bum bum ba da ba dum ba 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 dum ba 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 dum ba 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 dum. So it's a swung waltz. Therefore, it's a jazz waltz. But yes, you can do triplets in 3/4. You can do 9/8. You can do whatever you want. Oh, sound is all distorted. Sounds like you're overloading some inputs there somewhere, John. Yeah. I don't have a 32R, so I don't know anything about them, really. For those of you that missed the show last week on Wednesday, where we talked a little bit about modes, modes are great fun. Modes are very, very useful, not just for improvising, although they are terrific for improvising because they are very, very versatile, and they mean, if you're using modes, it takes you away from having to think about chord changes and using chord tones for improvising, which means you're not having to do nearly so much actual thinking about what you're doing. You're able to just do it. You're able just to make the music, just to play, and not have to think quite so hard about how your melody line that you're building when you're improvising is going to fit over these chord changes or not, as the case may be. So you're not having to think about chords anymore. So, for example, if you are playing a blues, for example, you can think entirely modally because you can just use just one scale, and that is, of course, the blues scale. So if we were to do this in the key of G, because I like doing blues in G, so that would be... So in a blues scale, there is the tonic, the root, there is a flat third, there is a 4, there is a flat 5, there is a natural 5, there is a flat 7, and then there is the octave. So it's really easy. You're not having to think about chord changes anymore. You can just... You can just think entirely about building a melody, building something that's interesting to your listener. You're not having to think about chord tones all the time. However, just playing just the blues scale will get a little bit boring over time, and the listener will start to disengage because they're hearing the same notes over and over again. So how do we get around that? We intersperse a couple of bits of magic. One is the pentatonic scale, which basically consists of roots, so 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and octave. It fits, and again, you're not having to think anymore, and you've just got yourself 5 notes. So you've got the blues scale, you've got the pentatonic scale, And you can still kind of throw in a couple of your blue notes as well to kind of spice up that pentatonic scale. And then there's the Mixolydian mode, which is one of the most versatile and useful scales in the history of modern music. How does this work in the key of G? Basically, it's all the white notes from G to G. All right, so you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, octave. So this will fit over pretty much everything that you need. So you could just use just G Mixolydian. Okay, so you could just go. But notice what happens a little bit when we try and play that G Mixolydian over the C7. Yeah, it kind of doesn't really work. You've got this, the flat 7 of the C plus the 3 of, yeah. No bueno, no bueno. Doesn't sound quite so good. So, what do we have to do to solve that problem? This is where, now that we're on a C chord, we can use the C Mixolydian scale. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, octave again. All right. So chord 1. And then when we get to chord 5, to the D chord, we can do the same again. And this time it's a bit like, in fact, it pretty much is the G major scale, but just starting on D. So you can use that F sharp there. And all of that other shit. So that gives you some ideas, some more food for thought on modes from what we discussed last week. All right, so John says, not inputs. I haven't got that far yet. Only managed to get any sound out of headphones today. I had to set the channels to USB so I could use an interface mode. Okay, there you go. Yeah, Rich says turn everything down first. Peter Brooks asks, what is the best MIDI interface to buy? MIDI. So you're not talking about an interface that does a little bit MIDI and a little bit of audio, like the AudioBox USB, the AudioBox Go, or any of the Studio Series interfaces that PreSonus makes. Those will all do MIDI, by the way. But if you're looking for something that will allow you to hook up multiple MIDI keyboards, MIDI devices, drum machines, what have you, you will probably be wanting a USB MIDI hub. I think, could be wrong here, I believe that M Audio, now owned by Avid, I believe they make one, or at least they used to make one. And I think it's called the MIDI Sport, if memory serves. Jonny has been using one for a number of years, and it really works for him. He has his tone generator sound modules, plus his electric drum set, plus his keyboard, all connected to that one USB hub, and then that connects via USB to his computer. So that's definitely an option if you're wanting to connect lots of MIDI gear into your computer. And they can be really good. I don't have one because really I've only got this. This is my only MIDI device other than my iwi, which is up on the shelf up there, which kind of currently doesn't work at the moment. But this is really my only MIDI device at the moment. So this works really well. This is like nearly 30 years old, pretty much zero latency. I'll show you a couple of MIDI tricks though that I have done to give me pretty much almost no MIDI latency, especially when it comes to recording into Studio One. So let me show you what those are, because I mean, this is not songwriting, but we've only got 10 minutes left of the show. So let me show you kind of what I've done. I've done a couple of things here. Studio One, options, then audio setup, and I've got my device block size 256, which gives me input latency of around about 7 milliseconds, output latency around about 7 milliseconds. Guess what? That is below what we call the golden 10 millisecond threshold. What am I talking about? What is this golden 10 millisecond threshold? It's the human hearing of latency that I'm talking about. The human ear pretty much cannot detect latency below 10 milliseconds because 10 milliseconds is too fast for your ear to detect and for your brain to compute that. It's too fast. So if you have your device block size set up so that your input and output latency are below 10 milliseconds, then just that on its own is going to work for you. That's the first thing. Second thing is, if you need to, because of your computer, maybe use the low latency monitoring for instruments, which is what I've got checked here. I currently don't have this engaged, but I have it available. I've got dropout protection set to medium. And the reason why I have this set this way is because most of the time I don't use Dolby Atmos, but occasionally I need to do something in Dolby Atmos. And Dolby Atmos requires a block size of 512 samples, right? So this means that I can keep my regular device block size to 256. I don't have to change it because Dolby will use my low latency monitoring path. Pretty cool, huh? And you'll see here that these values are not below that golden threshold that I talked about. However, here's the other thing I've done, is if I go into advanced and then MIDI, there's a couple of options I've got here. I've got enable retrospective recording, which by the way, everybody should have it engaged. Why? Because when you play that magic take, when you're just jamming over a set of chord changes, and you play something that is really, really cool, but you didn't have recording enabled, this will capture all of that. It will capture all of that, and then you just literally hit a button, and what you just played without being in record mode will be there. I'll show you that in a second. I've also got chase long notes on, and what this does is if I'm listening back to this piece, which is not going to play right now because I've got this dialogue open, and I happen to be in the middle of a note when I stop, and then I hit start again, it's not going to not play that note. It will catch itself up. So that's the first two things. The next thing is this here, record offset. I have this set to negative 14 milliseconds. And this allows me to kind of just do a little bit about what Rich talks about quite a lot, which is about negative track delay. This is not really the same thing, but what this does do is this kind of shifts everything so that everything that I play in is offset backwards by 14 milliseconds, and it just means that everything is just a little bit more tightened up, especially if I'm playing legato strings, for example. It really helps out with that in particular. So these are some of the MIDI options that I've done here. John says really top players, less than 4 milliseconds, great players 7 milliseconds, average players 12 milliseconds are the targets I've used for years. Well, that may well be what you've kind of used over time, John, but it's actually been scientifically proven that the vast overwhelming majority of people cannot detect latency below 10 milliseconds. Even if your personal reaction times are very, very quick, like if somebody throws a tennis ball at you at high velocity without any warning, you still catch it, for example. Or if you need to, you're driving your car and you need to brake very, very suddenly and your reactions are very, very fast. Even if that's the case, it's still going to be more than 10 milliseconds before your brain has gone, before your eyes have seen the bunny rabbit coming out in front of your car on the road, and your brain has gone, there's a bunny rabbit, I need to stop the car, and for your legs to respond to that by pushing down on the brake and the clutch at the same time to stop the car. That all takes more than 10 milliseconds to do. And so, there's pretty darn good science behind that whole golden threshold of 10 milliseconds. So, the overwhelming majority of people are never going to be able to detect by ear, hearing 10 milliseconds of latency. They're not. Anyway, Ron Figueroa says 64 by 64 discrete channels of I/O via USB, M-Audio MIDI Sport 4x4 Anniversary Edition 4I/O MIDI interface. Yes, that's the one I was thinking of, Ron. Thank you. That's the one that that Jonny uses, I believe. I believe it's that particular unit. So anyway, those are the settings that I use for kind of helping out with getting good MIDI performances. Let's see what else we got. But as to whether that's the best MIDI interface, I don't know. I know that it's good, and I know that Jonny has used it, and I know a few other people that have used it, and they're very happy with it. But I mean, I don't even know whether it's a still supported interface or not. I'm not 100% sure whether Avid still support that or not, because it's old. It predates M-Audio being acquired by Avid. So, I don't know. You'd have to probably do a little bit of research and find out about that, because I certainly don't know. All right, so we've got 4 minutes left, and we've kind of talked all over the shop, really. We've talked rearranging, reharmonizing Christmas carols. We've talked a little bit about modes, and we've talked some interfaces and that kind of thing. Anybody else got any other questions about the Christmas challenge in particular? Or any questions about doing arrangements of Christmas carols, that kind of thing. Because I'd be happy to help with that. For sure. Having done lots of rearrangements of Christmas carols over the years for various settings, I've done it for chamber orchestra, and I've done it for a string quartet. I've done arrangements for big band, brass band, wind ensemble, for choir, for gospel choir. Yes, I did a whole bunch of gospel choir arrangements for a Christmas show one year, probably about 15 years ago, long time ago. But they were really, really cool. We had a 6-piece rhythm section, we had a 6-piece horn section, and we had full gospel choir. And we made a massive sound, and we did. I think maybe the best of those arrangements that I did was "Joy to the World," which was, yeah, that was one of the best things I have ever written, because I just made it huge. I made it really, really massive. We made a huge sound. John says, how many styles should we or can we include? Well, it's kind of up to you. I would kind of lean away from wanting to do the same song in different styles, or different genres. I'd maybe do kind of what I did for the Halloween challenge, which was basically, I went for a more kind of, I don't know, kind of film score kind of sound for mine, a little bit more orchestral, albeit there's Mai Tai synth in that piece, and then there's some Foley effects like keychain and hot tap, which I don't know how many of you spotted where the hot tap comes in that piece, by the way. If you did, please do go over to soundcloud.com and go and check out the piece over there. It's called Souffrere, and you on SoundCloud, one of the cool things you can do is you can put your comment like anywhere on the timeline for that piece. So if you think you can hear where the hot tap starts in the piece, then drop in your comment and say hot tap here. It'd be interesting to see how, where people kind of put where the hot tap starts on that piece, and yeah, and how many people get it right. That would be quite interesting to find out. So if you want to go and do that, you can certainly go do that. I'm going to go grab a link for that, because a lot of you now be going, okay, can we have a link for that? Sure, I can give you the link for that. Let's see. SoundCloud.com. Profile. Copy link address. There it is. There's the link to Souffrere. If you think you know where the hot tap starts in that piece, stick a comment in. I'll show you what I mean by being able to put a timeline comment. Like here, Chris has put a couple of timeline comments in at different points, so you can kind of, as you're listening to it, you can write a comment and you can put it in at different points in the timeline. So if you know where the hot tap starts, put it in here and say hot tap here, or something like that. That could be quite good fun. So you could either go kind of orchestral, you could, I would say go for something that's maybe, it depends on how adventurous you're feeling. If you're feeling really adventurous, go for a style of music that you're not familiar with, like brass band, for example. Do a brass band arrangement. How am I going to do a brass band arrangement? Well, there's lots of orchestral sound libraries that have got good brass sounds. Just use the brass sounds, or you can use Presonus Symphonic Orchestra, use the brass sounds there, or the brass sounds in Presence. I did a brass band piece called Softly Spoken, which it does have a rhythm section, but it's mostly brass instruments as well. It's just tuba, trombones, French horns, I should say, because there's four of those, plus flugelhorn as well. But you can kind of do whatever you like. And trumpets as well. But yeah, you can kind of do whatever you like. So if you're feeling really adventurous and you've never done something orchestral before, try it. Try doing something orchestral. Or do something brass band if you've never done a brass band arrangement before. Or you could, if jazz is not really your thing, but you want to give it a try, give it a try. I don't think anybody's going to get offended. John says, do we get kudos for using only Studio One sounds? Yes, you do. Definitely. If you are only going to use the sounds that are available in Presence, Mai Tai, or Mojito, and just use the native plugin suite for mixing as well, then yes, you will get kudos. It will not necessarily help you get the prize, but you'll definitely get kudos. For sure. It's a good question, though. There we go. Do we have anything else? Yes, Peter Brooks says, are we having a Christmas party? Yes, we are. And that will be on December 20th, which will be also when Rich will be on here as my guest for the Christmas party, which is a first as well. It'll be the first time I've done a Christmas party with a guest. So Rich will be here and we will play some of the Christmas songs that have been submitted, and we will, of course, choose the winner and we will play the winner's piece as well. And we'll maybe play one of Rich's. Rich, again, has excelled himself and he's done about a whole album's worth of Christmas songs at this point. And I'm not going to submit Silent Night. I mean, I can't win anyway because it's my contest. But yes, Silent Night, you've already heard. And I'm going to do maybe one other or two others because I'm off for like 12 days from work now. So I might spend these 12 days just perfecting some weird, wacky, wonderful arrangement of a carol that I've never done before. So I think I might do that with my time. All right, so that is the end of the show. I see Bobby Booth says, I won't win none of these contests, but that's okay. Bobby, you never know. You never know, my friend. You may actually win it. Who knows? Anybody at this point other than me and Rich can win it. Anybody can. So that's the end of the show, folks. I don't know if there's going to be an after show Zoom or not. Because I haven't seen one posted. But I would think keep an eye on the chat as the end music plays out, and if there is a show, then if there is an after show Zoom, there you go, Billy's just posted it, there you go. We will head over there, and like I say, I'm off work so I can stay up a wee bit later than I ordinarily would, and I'm actually at the moment not feeling too tired, so I will probably be around a wee bit longer than I normally would. So if you've got any other questions about the Christmas challenge, we can talk about them in a little bit more detail there. Plus, it's just a great place for me to hang out as well. So, if you want to come and join us over there, the link is in the chat. You will be all very, very welcome. And until then, folks, it will be Sunday Night Live up next. So, we will kick off Sunday Night Live this week with Boris's question about preamps and that kind of thing, and then we will be taking more of your Studio One questions and that kind of thing, and it will be after that, it will be, well, in fact, it will be the beginning of December, so I suspect that it will be this weekend that most of you will be starting to think about putting up your Christmas decorations. I may or may not have a Christmas tree in here by then. I'm not sure. Maybe by next Wednesday we will have one. I'm not sure. All right, folks. See you over there. Good night, everybody.